Hey now everybody, this is Professor Island, and today we're discussing paper formatting, and specifically we're discussing peer editing. Peer editing, as the name implies, is the function of you exchanging your work with somebody else in the class in order to get a response. A lot of people would rather, frankly, not do that. They feel that another student is not in a position to give them helpful results. They feel that somebody may steal their ideas, and frankly, they just want me to respond to them. However, peer editing is a long standard tradition in the university and college experience, and it actually has some very valid functions. The purpose of peer editing is not simply for you to get feedback on your paper from someone else whose opinion you may or may not respect. Peer editing actually is an exchange of ideas between two individuals who are both looking for insight into their own work, but also using the evaluation of someone else's work to understand their own work better. By you reading someone else's paper, you are going to recognize certain elements that are familiar to you, and you may also recognize other elements that are not familiar to you, which may help you to remember that certain aspects of a paper are required, such as quotation, a particular formatting style, whatever the case may be. Having a conversation with somebody about why they added something or why they did not include something that you did may often trigger a conversation in which you come to realize that you might have been making a mistake that you can now rectify before I grade it. If I read something of yours, I'm going to grade it, and then you are stuck with that grade. If your peer edit reads something and they show you something, it gives you an opportunity to fix it. And that is the essential nature of peer editing. That means peer editing needs to be based on a couple things. One of them, you must be honest. You cannot simply say, yeah, it's great, you're a wonderful person, I hope you feel better now. The idea is that you are going to give them honest, credible feedback that is a reflection of your understanding of both the formatting and content for any particular assignment. That means you should be discussing things like what the formatting looks like for quotation, the number of quotations, the style of quotation, the citation format, all that kind of stuff, as well as the content. If you're in an English 101 class, you're looking for demonstrations of understanding of symbolism, irony, labeling of conflicts, the explanation of how something is ironic, of how something is symbolic. The use of secondary sources. For 103 and above, you're looking for the demonstration of the critical perspectives and the fact that they're applied correctly and the secondary sources that you're using are appropriate. This conversation, this interaction, this exchange allows you to examine not only their work, but also really your work. When you're reading somebody else's paper, you're doing yourself a favor because you're looking at somebody else's work and evaluating in the back of your head, hey, did I do this? Are we supposed to do this? Let me find out. In the same way, somebody's going to respond to you, and if they're honest, they're going to say, this part works well, but I have a question about this. And if you can support your answer, then you'll probably keep it the way it is. And if it causes you to question whether or not you did something correctly, you may reevaluate it and say, oh, you know what? He does want it this way. Let me change this kind of thing. Peer editing is required on final papers in my class. You're certainly welcome to do peer editing with somebody else on any other assignment, but the peer editing requirement is mandatory for the final paper, and it's worth 10% of your grade. You do need to get into the habit of doing this. The further you go in your college career, the more likely you're going to be working with other students, getting feedback, working together, and learning to work with other people is a valuable skill, whether it has to do with your college experience or it has to do with working in a workplace where you have to deal with people even if you don't necessarily like them. As part of that, there is a peer editing form on my website. It simply is, it's not designed for you to say yes, no, whatever that gives the person nothing. This is a generalized discussion that should bring up questions that you will answer in the form of actual sentences. Good use of literary terms, however, I'm not sure that you use psychoanalytical criticism correctly. Or good use of literary device here, but make sure that you explain and you label the irony as dramatic irony, if that's what it is. In other words, you're going through the process and giving them actual feedback, usable feedback, that they can apply to their paper, and also in some ways you're getting into the habit of using the literary terms and ultimately applying them back to your own paper. Make sure you have a peer edit for the final paper if it's in the list for the final paper, and attach it, either attach it in a physical paper if you give me a physical paper, or send it as an email. Just forward the email from the person that you got your peer edit from, forward that to me as well, and then I count that as part of your grade. Okay? Stay in touch.